Vikings, let's win the game.
Something big is happening as Vikings training camp gets closer, and it's not just the excitement. Suddenly, one quarterback is being mentioned in the MVP conversation. A veteran move may have disappeared before it ever got off the ground. A key offensive weapon is facing massive questions about his future, and one player almost nobody is talking about is quietly turning heads around the league. None of these stories stands alone. Together, they could change the way we look at this Vikings team before the first practice even begins. If there's one topic hanging over Minnesota like a thundercloud this offseason, it's the quarterback battle. After the Arizona Cardinals released Kyler Murray, the Vikings wasted no time bringing him in, and Kevin O'Connell has repeatedly made it clear that he'll compete head-to-head with J.J. McCarthy throughout training camp. Even with that competition officially set, league-wide expectations still point toward Murray entering camp as the front-runner for the Week 1 job. And should that prediction become reality, one respected NFL voice believes the story could grow much bigger than simply winning the starting role. NFL.com's Bucky Brooks recently projected Murray as a legitimate dark horse MVP candidate during his first season in purple. That might sound like a huge leap, but Brooks didn't arrive at that conclusion by accident. Murray entered the league as the first overall selection in the 2019 NFL Draft after capturing the Heisman Trophy at Oklahoma, and he quickly showed why evaluators viewed him as a franchise-changing talent. He earned Offensive Rookie of the Year honors, followed that with back-to-back Pro Bowl appearances, and established himself as one of football's most dangerous dual-threat quarterbacks, thanks to his arm talent and explosive ability to create with his legs. Injuries eventually slammed the brakes on that rise, and he never quite regained the same rushing impact afterward. Still, Brooks believes Kevin O'Connell could help uncover that version of Murray once again. In Brooks's view, Murray's natural playmaking instincts paired with O'Connell's inventive offensive approach could remind the entire league why he was once considered one of the NFL's brightest young stars. Minnesota already boasts one of the strongest supporting casts in football, and if Murray wins this competition while leading the Vikings into contention inside the loaded NFC North, Brooks believes an MVP-level campaign is absolutely within reach. None of that matters, of course, unless Murray first beats out McCarthy during camp. But if he clears that hurdle, this offense could have a runway that's long enough to take everyone by surprise. Another chapter worth keeping an eye on revolves around the ripple effect of one difficult off-season decision that completely changed Minnesota's outlook at edge rusher. Watching Jonathan Greenard leave wasn't on anybody's wish list, but negotiations eventually reached a dead end that neither side could escape. Greenard believed his production justified a raise beyond the 4-year, $76 million contract he originally signed, while the Vikings chose to protect their long-term financial flexibility instead. Philadelphia saw the opening, traded draft assets to get the deal done, and immediately rewarded him with a new $100 million contract that included $50 million guaranteed. That puts a much brighter spotlight on Dallas Turner while naturally raising questions about the depth behind him. As soon as that move happened, plenty of Vikings fans started wondering if another experienced pass rusher might still arrive before the regular season. Joey Bosa instantly became one of the names people kept circling. But Adam Schefter recently threw a wrench into those hopes, saying it's now more likely than not that Bosa has already played the final snap of his NFL career. Unless the perfect late off-season opportunity changes his thinking, retirement appears to be a very realistic outcome. Could something still shift? Of course. We've watched veteran players wait until deep into the offseason before choosing their next team. Even so, when someone with Schefter's track record sends up that kind of signal, it's hard to ignore it. Fortunately, Minnesota isn't boxed into a corner. Veterans like Jadeveon Clowney and Kyle Van Noy are still available if the Vikings decide they need more help after evaluating training camp. But not every headline this week has carried bad news. One of Minnesota's newest additions is quietly collecting praise around the league. Bleacher Report recently listed Jauan Jennings among the NFL's most underrated wide receivers, recognizing exactly the qualities Vikings fans were hoping he'd bring to this offense. Jennings doesn't win because he's the fastest man on the field. He wins through physicality, disciplined route running, toughness, and non-stop effort. Last season, 45 of his 55 receptions either moved the chains or finished with touchdowns, the kind of reliability every quarterback loves. Just picture defenses trying to juggle Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson, and Jennings all at once. The Vikings already had one of the league's best receiving tandems. Bringing Jennings into the mix could hand Kyler Murray one of the deepest groups of pass catchers anywhere in football. The pass rush may still have a few loose ends, but this offense suddenly looks equipped to make defensive coordinators lose sleep every single Sunday. Looking strictly at the stat sheet can sometimes send you down the wrong road, and that's exactly why the conversation around TJ Hockenson deserves a closer look heading into this season. ESPN's Bill Barnwell recently described 2026 as a make-or-break year for the Pro Bowl tight end, pointing to the fact that Hockenson hasn't appeared to be the same player since tearing his ACL late in 2023. At first glance, it's easy to understand where that opinion comes from. His numbers over the last 2 years simply haven't matched the impact he made immediately after arriving in Minnesota. But once you peel back the layers, the story becomes much more complex. Hockenson didn't suddenly lose his ability to play football. What really changed was how often he was given opportunities. During the past 2 seasons, he ran significantly fewer routes than he did during his best years, while also seeing his lowest target totals since entering the league as a rookie. That isn't just a reflection of his own performance. Throughout 2025, injuries along the offensive line repeatedly forced Hockenson to stay in and help with pass protection before releasing into his routes. Anyone who understands how NFL offenses work knows how costly that can be. Delay a receiver for even a moment, and the quarterback often moves on to another option. Throw inconsistent quarterback play into the mix, and production across the passing game naturally takes a hit. Then there's everything that happened in 2024. Hockenson missed the first 7 games while recovering from knee surgery, yet after returning, he still averaged roughly 4 catches and around 45 receiving yards per game. Given everything he was working through, those numbers weren't nearly as underwhelming as they're often made out to be. The Vikings also aren't asking him to carry the passing attack the way he once did with multiple 70-yard performances every month. This offense has changed. Justin Jefferson remains the focal point. Jordan Addison continues taking steps forward. Jauan Jennings brings another dependable weapon. If Hockenson settles into the role of a reliable chain mover who occasionally delivers a huge play between the numbers, he'll continue to be an essential piece of Kevin O'Connell's offense. His future with the Vikings shouldn't be determined only by whether he posts career-best statistics again. It should be judged by the role he plays inside one of the NFL's deepest passing attacks. If that happens, the entire discussion surrounding his long-term future in Minnesota could sound completely different once the season comes to a close. There's something incredibly satisfying about watching a player rewrite the story everyone already thought had been finished. Every year, somebody enters the season flying under the radar, only to become a cornerstone once the games actually begin. For the Vikings, Jalen Redmond is looking more and more like that player. His road to Minnesota certainly wasn't paved with headlines. He went undrafted, spent time with Carolina, rebuilt his confidence in the XFL with the Arlington Renegades, and very few people imagined he'd eventually grow into a meaningful contributor on an NFL defense. Yet that's exactly how things have unfolded. The Vikings spotted potential where others overlooked it, brought him into the organization, and have watched him take another step forward with each passing season. That steady climb recently earned recognition from Pro Football Focus, which placed Redmond on its NFL All-Undrafted team while praising both his consistency and the versatility he brings across the defensive line. That's no small achievement when you consider how many successful undrafted players are scattered throughout today's league. His production makes the honor easy to justify. Redmond's defensive workload jumped from just over 200 snaps in 2024 to nearly 800 in 2025. And with that expanded role came 35 total pressures, countless quarterback disruptions, 5 passes batted down, 39 defensive stops, and 1 forced fumble. Even though some of his individual grades dipped slightly from the previous season, his overall value climbed because the coaching staff trusted him with far greater responsibility. Now another phase begins. After moving on from costly veterans Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, Minnesota committed to a younger direction by drafting Caleb Banks and Domonique Big Citrus Orange. Instead of leaning on aging experience, the Vikings now have an intriguing collection of developing talent inside. Redmond no longer has to shoulder everything himself. He's now part of a young group that has the chance to grow side by side for years to come. That's exactly how elite defensive lines are often built, with fresh legs constantly rotating onto the field without sacrificing production. If Redmond keeps building on his momentum while Banks and Orange adjust quickly to the NFL, Brian Flores could quietly assemble one of the conference's deepest young defensive fronts. Championship defenses aren't created only with splashy headlines. Sometimes they're forged because one player refuses to waste the opportunity that's been placed in front of him, and Redmond continues proving why Minnesota believed he deserved that chance. That's exactly why this stretch of the offseason never gets old. Training camp is about much more than established stars defending their reputation. It's where unexpected chances appear, position battles heat up, and overlooked players can completely change the outlook of an entire season before week 1 even arrives. Whether you're watching Kyler Murray attempt one of the NFL's biggest career turnarounds, Jauan Jennings give this offense another dependable weapon, TJ Hockenson try to rewrite the conversation surrounding his future, or Jalen Redmond continue climbing the ladder, every one of these developments deserves a close eye over the coming weeks. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these storylines has your attention the most? Jump into the comments, be part of the conversation, and stick with us because we'll be covering every twist and turn from now until kickoff. Stay tuned. Skol Vikings, let's go.